Hi everybody, in this video we're going to talk about how to solve question number 6 on your test review in Edulastic. Okay, so let me pull up the screen sketch. Starting off, it says fill in the needed information in the boxes below to complete the inequality that represented by the graph shown below. Remember we talked about things like noticing what is happening on our graph. I notice that on my graph I have a solid line. And things that are being shaded is above my solid line, shade above. Okay. I'm also seeing that my line crosses my y-axis at 4. Okay. So a lot of these things happening. Also, my line is going from the top left to bottom right. So we do have a negative slope. So this should be a bunch of information to allow us to figure out what do we have to do in order to create my equation. Since it's a solid line, remember that we are using either the less than or equal to or the greater than or equal to. Since we are shading above, I do need my inequality to be facing my y. So I am going to go ahead and use this one right here, the greater than or equal to. Okay. Since I know I have a negative slope, I know this is going to be a negative number in front of my x. Because remember that this number in front of your x is always going to be your slope value. And the number that comes after my x is my y-intercept. And we know that my line crosses the y-axis at a positive 4. So my y-intercept is 4. Okay. Now all that's left to do is figure out what is the slope. Since I know the point 0, 4 here, and if I go down my line and see where else does it cross very nicely, I have another point here that crosses one of my boxes on my graph very nicely. In order to go from my 4 to this point right here, 1, 1, what needed to happen was going to the right 2, or 1, sorry, and then down by 3. Okay, so we went right 1 and down 3. Let's remember some things about slope. Remember that slope is written in the form of your rise over run. So let's break this down. I know I needed to go down 3. So I need to put that number on the top. And then my run is always your left or right direction. We went to the right 1. Okay. Down is a negative direction. So that would be a negative 3. And right is a positive direction. So that would be a positive 1. So we have this fraction of negative 3 over 1, which can be simplified to the whole number of just negative 3. So there's my equation. Y is greater than or equal to negative 3 x plus 4. I also wanted to take the time to go over question number 7. So here's question 7. Taking a look here, I have these two equations and I want to graph the solution to this system. Okay, so both of my equations, let's take a closer look here. I have my first equation. I'll use green for it. My inequality is facing away and there's no equal sign underneath. So I do have a dash line that's going to happen. And since my inequality is facing away from my y, I am going to be shading below. Okay. Also, other things about my equation or my inequality here, it is in slope-intercept form. So my number that is not attached to my x right here in this case is a positive 2. So that's going to be my y-intercept, positive 2. And my slope is 3, which means in terms of slope, again, is rise over run. If I have a 3, I'm looking at going up 3 and right 1. Okay, so we'll go up 3 and right 1. So here's another point that we could be plotting here for my graph. I'm going to plot just a few more points so that I have a clearer idea of what my line looks like. Remember that you can also go in the opposite direction of down and to the left, okay? Because two negative directions will make a positive, okay? So I have this dashed line for my green equation, and I know that I am going to want to shade below. Let us use a highlighter for that one. We are shading below, okay? Working on my second equation here, let's use blue. Again, I don't have an equal to symbol underneath this one, so it's going to be a dashed line again. And again, my inequality is facing away from my y, so I'm going to shade below again. My number that's not attached to my x right here that's hanging out is my y-intercept of -5. And my slope is a -1/2. So let's take a look at that slope. Rise over run. Remember a -1/2? If we have a negative slope, I need to choose which direction is going to be my negative direction. I can either go -1 or 2, or 1 over a -2. And this only happens when we have a negative slope to begin with. Okay, so my -1/2 tells me that I would go down 1 and right 2. However, if I was using the positive 1 over -2, I'm going up 1 and left 2. Okay, so seeing how they do create this line, meaning that we are allowed to do that and going in the right direction here. I'm going to add some more points on so I can clearly figure out my line and continue with my dash line that I had. Again, we are shading below, so let me get that highlighter and shade below my blue line. So if I were to be asking for what is a solution, you should be able to tell me that the solution is in this shaded or double shaded overlapping area of both of my graphs. And if you picked a point that is in that overlapping piece, that would be one of your solutions to this inequality.